Hey everybody, this is JDGaming back today with another episode of Rogue Construction, the series where I go and explore a new strategy that I've maybe never seen before in my life, and go and, with your guys' help, evolve it over time. So today we are obviously looking at Synchrons, and it's a bit of a special case here. This is a deck that I have some experience with, but I've never really personally played it a ton. The reason for that is, in my friend circle, there is a guy who, since the beginning of 5Ds, has been totally obsessed with the Synchro summoning mechanic, has been obsessed with Yugioh, and pretty much has been playing Synchron. So in our group, that's always been his turf, something that none of us really touched. And I mean, recently, just because like we've moved to different universities and stuff, I only see him once in a while for breaks, and he's actually, transitioning a bit more into Yang Zings because he's played this deck for so long, he wanted to try something else. So I finally decided, maybe it's time to finally use Synchrons beyond just like as an engine. Like, you may have seen some of my other decks. I love using them as an engine. I understand how like the basic pieces work, but I have yet to actually see, just pure junk Doppel, if that's what you'd like to call it, and see how that works. So this deck derives inspiration, of course, from his deck, from good old Speedy Steve, aka Synchro Extremist, and then even Yugioh put up a very good video once the structure deck came out. I think it was 2 years ago now. Very difficult believing that it's been that long already, but here we are in 2017 playing Synchrons for the fun of it. So I'm just going to give this in 3 parts for the profile. So it's essentially going to be main deck and all the reasonings, extra deck very quickly, and then here I have 8 cards I just want to mention for potential directions this deck could take, and I definitely love your feedback on that. And then we'll round out with a couple matches to show this deck in action, just so you can see how the pieces actually work beyond the theory here. So without further ado, here we have 3 tuning, because this, of course, sets up our plays by yarding something and gets us whatever we would like. Our main summon here is the Junk Synchron. This is part of the Junk Doppel part of this deck, and essentially it's our main card you want to normal summon every turn. Lets you go and revive a level 2, mainly Doppel Warrior, to get your plays started. That helps you access level 5s very easily, and then Doppel Warrior gets you a ton of non-tuners, because if you've played this deck post-structure deck, which if you love Synchrons you probably have since the 2 years of that release, you really need non-tuners in this deck. Tuners are just so easy to come by because they're searchable. Jet Synchron keeps coming back, and you have classic just splashable cards like Glow Up Bulb and the plant synchro supporters like Foolish Barrel and 1-for-1. But realistically, you want to make sure that you have the non-tuners lined up, and that's what Doppel Warrior is good for. And so you're playing the 1 Rhoda, because unfortunately since the release of the deck, this has become limited. So we do want to maximize our consistency of the Doppel Warrior. So that 10-card engine is essentially the Junk Doppel portion. The support line for this is a line and a half of this, the next 15 cards. So Synchron Explorer, I always run 1 copy. Why? If you have Junk Synchron and Doppel Warrior, you could be reviving the Doppel, you could be summoning Doppel from your hand because Junk Synchron revived anything else. Whatever the case, you have level 5 Synchro, you go for the Excel Synchron. So then you get 2 tokens for the Doppel Warrior, so you have 1, 1, and 5. Excel Synchron lets you dump any Synchron monster, doesn't even have to be a tuner, from your deck to the graveyard to either increase or decrease this card's level by that monster's level. So you send a Synchron Explorer to your grave to turn this into a 7. 5 plus 2 makes it that 7. And if you add it to the 2 level 1 non-tuner Doppel Warriors, then this Synchro Tuner will be a single card Trishula off of just a normal summoned Junk Synchron. So definitely want to make sure that you have access to the single Synchron Explorer. If for no other reason, then that combo is phenomenal. Trishula, of course, doesn't target any of its cards, and it gets rid of 3 key pieces. Hitting the hand is very difficult. Hitting the graveyard sometimes is a bit of a challenge in a Synchro deck, so being able to have just removal at all 3 spots is extremely potent. And then if you happen to draw into this thing early game, I mean, you could just use this as a reverse toolbox version of Junk Synchron anyway, so its effect is still useful for that. So definitely a 1 of in my book. 2 Maxis, my favorite hand trap in Junk Doppel variants, essentially because it single-handedly sets up your Junk Synchron play by sending itself to the graveyard. And on top of that, over the last few years, you'll probably find Maxis useful against everything, hence its semi-limited status. So you definitely want to use this as one of your main startup plays, because I mean, you want to open with this pretty much every game in the sense that it's useful if you were going first, and it's useful if your opponent's going first. So simple as that. Charge of the Light Brigade just helps you get a few extra cards into the graveyard, as well as getting you key monsters or key levels to your hand that you can manipulate and then use from the graveyard. So Raikou you can discard with something like Quick Draw Synchron, or Jet Synchron lets you go and synchro up with Junk Synchron into a 5, so that can be your Librarian play, it could be an Excel Synchron, whatever. Lila is a nice card because as a non-tuner that's level 4, you have easier access to your 5s without necessarily relying on your Junk Synchron. Very often you will have like a Jet Synchron or Glow Up Bulb as your level 1 tuner, easy to come back, but you don't have a good high level non-tuner to use it with. And that's why Lila's here. Plus, if you consider this 1 copy with the 2 Charge of Light Brigade, for drawing purposes, you essentially have 3 MSTs. Obviously, you can only use it once unless you revive it with something, but you essentially have 3 copies of MST floating around in your deck that you can draw out into like floaters, or not floaters, floodgates, so you could stop things like Vanity's Emptiness very easily using something like this. So definitely love it for that reason. And then Raiden, this one's actually a little less useful than Lila in this deck. It's a bit backwards than most other situations, but essentially as a level 4 tuner, you can't use this if you already have a tuner, so it's kind of unfortunate where Jet Synchron and Glow Up Bulb can't take advantage of this. But you can load more of your monsters to the graveyard. So, you know, send something like Level Eater to the grave, or Quillbolt Hedgehog, and all of a sudden you have some good targets that you can use along with Raiden. Of course, Level Eater, you just need to have a high level monster next to it, but nonetheless, it's an easy way to go for a level 5 alternative to the Junk Synchron. So that's why it's in here. And because you mill the 3 first, if you don't get a good mill off of Light Brigade, but you have something like Junk Synchron at the ready, I mean, you know, you could always just summon this, mill 2, hit something, and then follow up the following turn with a Junk Synchron, which, you know, when you have 2 tuner monsters and then you have things like Doppel Warrior and Level Eater set up, it can make for an extremely explosive turn 2 play. So that's why it's in here. Just extra mills, extend your plays off of Light Brigade, and if you have access to a non-tuner, more power to you, you can get use out of that. Jet Synchron falls into the Junk Doppel portion of the deck, I believe, because although it has that revival ability, helps fix your hand by discarding. Everyone remembers that one. Don't forget, in a Junk deck, you actually do have a free search of Junk Synchron every time this thing is used as a Synchro monster, Synchro material monster, as long as you don't use the other effect that turn. So you basically will retain advantage by synchroing with this thing and fetching Junk Synchron, and then the following turn, remember, you can always make a big explosive play with 2 tuners. You now have a Junk Synchron, a normal, and a Jet Synchron that can revive itself. Heck, if you want, you could even use Junk Synchron to revive the Jet, have 2 tuners, synchro with both of those on things like Doppel Warrior and Level Eater, and then your Jet Synchron can still come back as a 3rd tuner, so lots of explosive plays with lots of tuners loaded up. So definitely want the Jet Synchron at 3 in this deck. Foolish Barrel and 1-for-1 give you extra access to things like Jet Synchron, but it also gives you ability to play techs like Glow Up Bulb. You can discard Quillbolt Hedgehog off of 1-for-1, and you can even hit Level Eater off of either of those cards as well. So that's why this is in here. Just so much extra consistency, and all the spells, as you'll see, are meant to kickstart your plays. Turn 1, you want to make sure something's set up, because essentially, as long as one thing's in your grave, you're probably able to go off. So this helps you get that thing in the grave, and in the process gets you something useful, like a tuner, like a recursive non-tuner, to get you on your way. So that's why that's in here. Bulb, self-explanatory, has the same mill like tuning, so I mean that makes it even better. Quillbolt, I talked about how I really wanted non-tuners. This thing serves as 2 of them, and realistically it's just taken over Dandelion in my mind for this deck, because I used to love Dandelion, but especially when you have like Jet Synchron coming back all the time, you draw Quillbolt, you discard it, you get your Jet Synchron back, you bring this guy back, and then you're already set up. So very easy card to manipulate, very potent. Not much else to say about that, other than I sorely underestimated this card when it first came out. It's very, very powerful indeed, not just for the show. And now the second half of the deck is the next 10 cards here. So this is the quick draw engine I have. We're playing 3 of this because it's another hand fixer. Unfortunately, it does make our extra deck a lot cramped, but I mean, that's what it is. We're just going to have to deal with that, right? Then we are playing the 3 Level Eater with it, as well as a 1 Mathematician. So the idea is, Level Eater, of course, lets us eat a level 5 or higher monster's level 1 time to revive itself, and then if it goes to grave, it can eat again and revive itself, and so on. That's what makes this thing so insane. Mathematician used to be the combo you max out with this, because if you normal Mathematician to dump Level Eater, and then you special summon the Quick Draw, you have then the ability to bring back Level Eater by making this a 4. So you have 4, 1, and 3. That's an 8, and that lets you go Road Warrior. So now Road Warrior can be eaten off of Level Eater, and then you can bring back or bring from your deck a Jet Synchron or a Doppel Warrior, and then just start making a lot of plays off of that. So very, very potent play. Level Eater gets set up in the process of you just getting more things for free. So very powerful. Unfortunately, Mathematician got limited because of its use in Shaddoll, so we're only playing the one copy, but I still wanted to maximize on Level Eater because I wanted to make sure I saw it. Again, we have a lot of different ways that we can discard this thing, so definitely wanted that. But as you may say, you know, JD, what happens if you draw 2 of them? Well, that sucks, unless you take advantage of Triple Allure of Darkness. This deck already plays lots of pure dark targets, and then, you know, Tuning and Rhoda even search for extra copies of those dark monsters. So if you have extras you don't need, particularly Junk Synchron, if you've already normal summoned that turn and you're just going to kill your opponent, just turn it into 2 more resources, and, you know, if you get something like Quick Draw, you can throw it to the board immediately. So definitely an interesting extreme kind of fix where Allure of Darkness seems like a weird play because, like, oh, you're throwing away your Synchrons, and Level Eater seems like, oh, you're going to clog. Put them together, though, and you're actually going to get a decent amount of consistency out of there, because drawing 2, even if it's just a cycle and not an actual plus, does get you a lot of free resources, fresh resources that you can work with. And ultimately, it just helps round out this quick draw engine. And the last 5 cards we have here are just support line cards. So Soul Charge, if you have stuff set up in your grave and it's just not turn 1 when you draw this, essentially, you're probably going to win just off of the resources that you're able to get from this. You could set up things like Crystal Wing, you could set up a Librarian and keep drawing off of that. You can go Quasar, obviously. There's so many amazing plays you can put together with Soul Charge, so definitely want the one of here. We have 2 Veilers, mainly because it supplements the Max C, helps me stop monster effects, and I didn't want to play any form of back row. Even Forbidden Chalice is a bit iffy, because, I mean, if I were playing all the time against quick effects and lockdown effects, I would want to play Forbidden Chalice. But in my particular metagame, I'm not playing in, like, really competitive scenes right now, so, like, I'm just not playing against those types of cards. So definitely side those options. Main decked this because it has more utility as a light level 1 tuner monster. I just loved all of its stats. But feel free to experiment with this slot based on your needs. I did want the monster effect negation, though, because too often you see something like a Castell or a Trishula. It just breaks up your plays. It's just so bad for the deck if you lose something that major, so wanted to have access to that. And then it also fuels our last 2 beaters in Chaos Sorcerer and BLS. BLS is, of course, amazing, very easy to summon off of Formula Synchrons or Veilers, along with all the darks we mentioned for Allure. And then Chaos Sorcerer is a similar case, although it's not as powerful on the removal or attacking front. As a level 6 non-tuner, you can pair it with your Glow Up Bulb or 1-for-1 or Jet Synchron, and you're all of a sudden able to go remove something, go for 7, maybe flip something up, and then just go for Crystal Wing off of it, which allows you to obviously lock down your opponent for game even if you don't win that turn. So very powerful option, rounds out the deck, and it's another dark monster, so if you draw it early game and don't need it, just Allure, get your deck going off of that. So that is the 40 card main deck, 28 monsters, 12 spells, no traps because I don't want to go slow myself down. Gotta go fast here, folks. And then in the extra, we have 2 formulas. I, for whatever reason, lost my second secret rare formula Synchron, which freaked me out because I usually don't lose any cards or really anything. But alas, the unthinkable has happened, and now I don't know what to do with myself because I have to play a gold. But definitely want 2 copies of Formula Synchron. I tried playing with 1, and although a lot of games you don't necessarily need the second to win, if you get stopped on the first, you definitely want the second. So you have so many level 1 non-tuners and tuners that come back for free. Formula Synchron just has to be in this deck. And especially because, as you can see here, I have a level 2, 3, 4, 5 that's variable, and 6 tuner synchro monster, and that lets us abuse Level Eater when we have a Librarian setup, because you could just keep synchroing up, draw 1 for each, and then the Coral Dragon's a nice cap on all that because you draw off of using it as a synchro material as well, so that just gives you an additional draw off of that. So lots of draw power you can do just for going through all that. Lets you use Soul Charge even more effectively because you bring so many cool monsters along the way. Definitely want to have all these tuner synchros. Briefly, the advantages: Tatsunoko helps you get use out of the dead non-tuners in your hand. Not quite as versatile as in a Row Mage Synchro because you can't search whatever you would like at all times. But nonetheless, I think it's a very powerful choice in this deck for what it does. Quandux is essentially going to be Formula Synchron, but instead of drawing, you get to synchro during your opponent's battle phase. And that's huge because if you can make a Black Rose Dragon or a Trishula during your opponent's turn, that does a number on your opponent's board. So definitely want to consider using Quandux as the level 4 slot. Phonon Pulse I think is just too restrictive, and you do have access to Excel Synchron who can vary his levels, so don't really think there's a huge point in playing Phonon, to be completely honest. Junk Warrior is in here over Jet Warrior because you have more access to this thing. It's as simple as that. Junk Synchron can organically go for this. Jet Synchron, you pretty much need to pair it with Lila or a bunch of non-tuner level 2s and stuff that, like, it's just hard to come up with. So mainly this is a solid beater off of Doppel Warrior with Junk Synchron. Lets you go easily play this thing, and you need a level 5 because of Quick Draw and Level Leader. It's as simple as that. Librarian, of course, lets you draw. This I mentioned, just cap off your Synchro climb strategy using Level Eater. Junk Garden is in here for the same reason as the Junk Warrior. Essentially, it's a Junk Synchron summonable monster, and it's a quick draw target. Same thing with Berserker. This thing's actually got some really powerful damaging abilities. Essentially, lets you banish any of your Junk monsters. Could be Gardena, could be Warrior, could be Synchron, to reduce your opponent's monster's attack. So essentially, even if you hit your weakest link of Junk Synchron, that's essentially a 4K beater that can run over almost anything in the game. And then if you kill if you attack a defense monster, you just auto kill it. So very potent effect there. And then again, bottom line is you have to use this with Quick Draw Synchron. So like you can see these three are in here just for Quick Draw. So like that really cramps up the extra deck, but you know, it's a necessary evil in this case. Black Rose Dragon is in here because you do have 3 cards that let you access Glow Up Bulb, and once you've used its effect, you can just go ahead and flip your opponent's monster for damage. Wiping the board is always a good play to have access to when you don't worry about, you know, your own Pendulum Scales or your own back row. So fits nicely in that strategy. And then for 8s, I played Crystal Wing over Psyframe Lord Omega because I used to play both, but I needed extra room for like the second formula. Essentially, once in a blue moon, I do want to go for Psyframe Lord Omega, but most of the time, you're synchroing up through a synchro monster to get to this. Like Black Rose Dragon and Berserker, or Junk Berserker, are the 2 easiest ways to just, with a level 1 tuner, go for Crystal Wing. So realistically, anytime you're using the synchro monsters that you need to summon Crystal Wing is going to be your best bet. And you're just never really in a situation where you have to summon Omega because you cannot make a Crystal Wing. So I decided to just play this. So far, I have yet to be disappointed because, of course, Crystal Wing is extremely offensive and defensive. It's just an all-around amazing card. Almost looks like it was made for Synchrons. Before, of course, Zolkin started abusing the heck out of it and everything. So there's that. Road Warrior I already mentioned. It's just a combo propagator, and it's just the best thing to eat off of a level eater because it's so big. And then it's actually probably your best, most meaningful target off of the Quick Draw Synchron, though it does take a little more manipulation to get to 2 non-tuners along with the Quick Draw to summon this guy. Trishula, one of the best synchros in the game. Of course, easy access with the Junk Synchron Excel Synchron combo I mentioned. And then Quasar, I mean, I'm not playing Shooting Star for space reasons, but essentially, Quasar is not the best defensive option anymore. I mean, even things like Cyber Dragon Infinity get eaten up by kaijus or just killed with multiple removals. So like, don't count on Quasar being, oh, I summoned this turn 1 so I won the game. No, but you could still expect to win the game with its multiple attack if you bring it out offensively. And that's just an iconic card, just a blast to bring out. Definitely wanted this as an ace for the deck in kind of this pure Junk Doppel type of build. So that's why that is in here. And then very briefly, I want to go over the side here. So essentially, this isn't an actual side. It's just cards I wanted to consider for the direction of the deck. So I'm going from left to right here. Instant Fusion is a very potent card in this deck, not only because Norden is still legal right now because we haven't had a new list come out, but Theseus is out, so that lets us go as a level 5 tuner for so many big plays. Essentially everything we could do off of Quick Draw, we can now do not using Quick Draw, and so we're not tied into with the Synchron theme. So you don't have to use Road Warrior, but that's really the only thing you would lose in that case. Instead, you would be able to go for just higher things like Cypher Lord Omega or something like that. So interesting option to free up our extra. But if we combine it with something like Salvage Warrior, this is one of my favorites from my Water Synchro deck. And I found like the Genix Undyne is way too slow. Treeborn Frog is way too slow, so I can't use those anymore. I tried, I love those. Time to shelve those until we get a compelling reason to actually run that. But Salvage Warrior is amazing with Theseus and with Quick Draw, because you're able to bring out Ultimate Zolkin very easily. Salvage Warrior essentially is a tribute summon monster that has Junk Synchron's effect, but it lets you summon any tuner, and it's from your hand or grave, so you don't even target, because you don't target things in your hand. Your opponent has to blindly hit you with Valor, hoping that you don't do anything useful, or that you wouldn't do anything useful, which is, I don't know, very fringe use, but it's still useful nonetheless. You're essentially able to tribute either Theseus off of Instant Fusion or a Quick Draw that you summon for free off of its own effect to then go for Zolkin anytime you draw a Salvage Warrior. So very, very easy card to run in this deck. Only thing is, it would take a lot of extra deck space. Like, I mean, you can see how cramped this extra is. It essentially needs to take an entirely different route, probably not a Synchro climb route. Take out the low-level monsters and just focus entirely on big dragons with Zolkin or something. But nonetheless, it is an interesting route I think would be cool to explore, so I want to hear your thoughts on that. And then, as if that weren't enough for space reasons, we could actually add a Panzer Dragon to the extra, and because it's a machine along with Quick Draw, Instant Fusion suddenly becomes a viable way to bring out Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity, and if you think of summoning Infinity along with Crystal Wing or Quasar, that could be a really fun type of lockout deck. And I mean, beyond that, you can even just go for other rank 5s using Salvage Warrior, so it could even become an Xyz-based deck if the Synchrons aren't really the best way to go about it. So like, so many different things are possible with this deck and all of its resources. It's really just capped off by its extra deck. So unfortunately, we have like 10 different paths we could go in at least, and we just can't mix all of them together. But I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think about what I should do in terms of taking this deck into another direction? So, that should be a fun discussion as we evolve this deck. But for now, sit back as we go on to the match to see this deck. Alright guys, we are playing an AI match against Black Wings in honor of my buddy, the Silver Shadow, whom I actually haven't seen in a while. Don't know if he's very active. But essentially, as my brother put it, Synchrons are a deck best tested in solitaire format because not a lot of opponents actually want to go ahead and, spend 10 minutes waiting for a turn to happen. It's not even if it's the, Synchron players, taking a long time making suboptimal plays or anything. It's just the deck takes forever to get through all its combos. So that's why I'm actually here, not wasting anyone else's time on an AI. But maybe if I get good with this, I'll actually start playing against someone else. So essentially, the way I began this turn, obviously you could see, I wanted to get a Doppel Warrior out along with the Level Eater, because it's a free summon anyway. I mean, I get it off the Quick Draw. Now this, unfortunately, only lets me hit level 7 as is. I could throw in another Level Eater, which would get me bonus use out of the Road Warrior I can summon, and now I have access to the Jet Synchron straight from the deck. So that's what we're going to try to do here. I definitely want a tuner, so yeah, we're going Jet Synchron. And now there are two options here. Don't forget, I could bring this back twice, or I could, or bring it back once, so I use it twice, or I could just use the Junk Synchron that I fetch next turn. Now, realistically looking at this, it would be best if I could go and prepare a Crystal Wing play. So the way I want to do this is reduce the level of this Road Warrior to 7, and then I want to be able to go Formula Synchron off of this Level Eater, which will allow me then, I want to use this effect for the search, and I want to use this for the draw. So I want to search first, so we'll do that. Because when I'm adding a particular card to my hand, there's no reason to risk drawing into a second Junk Synchron for no reason, so we'll diminish our chances of that, and I ended up doing it anyway. Whoop-de-doo, good thinking right there. But if I get rid of this, now I put my opponent in a very bad position because I can go and use these for Crystal Wing, I can use these for Trish. I have a lot of good synchro options open, so these two guys aren't even a huge liability. Looking just through the extra right now, I can hit a lot of the low-level guys. The biggest problem, though, is unless I go Excel Synchron, I can't go and produce more tuners. Because I've already used Jet Synchron's effect. So I'm actually going to end as is here. So depending on what the opponent does, we're going to be able to respond to that. It looks like they're just passing turn, which I guess is fine. I mean, I'm kind of tempted to just Black Rose them right now and make them lose half of their hand. But at the same time, I mean, I can't even summon Black Rose right now. So we're actually just going to leave this. Actually, I know Icarus attack is a threat, but right now it's not because they don't have any monsters. It may actually behoove me to dodge things like Bottomless by going for Hyper Librarian now, because I'll be able to bring back pretty much all this stuff with the Junk Synchron bringing out a Doppel Warrior again. So yeah, we're going to summon Hyper Librarian right now to dodge all the traps before they're live, and then that should make it harder for him to stifle my advantage here. So let's see, if I were to go Quick Draw, I could easily get, you know, Level Eater back and go for like a Junk Warrior next to it. But I want to start off by using the Doppel Warrior now, and the reason is he uses up so many slots for his tokens that it would be best if I were able to take advantage of that now. So we're actually going to go ahead and use that. So now I get to draw. Do I want Doppel? Yes, I do, because I do have this. Interesting. So he has Fiendish Chain, which unfortunately means I don't get my free draws. But I mean, now I'm free to do one of two things. I could obviously use this, but I could use Librarian as a Synchro material, or I can try finding some way to get rid of the Fiendish Chain. Unfortunately, I don't have... Well, I guess I do have the Coral Dragon is a pretty good piece of removal. It's been a while since I had just easy removal like that. So yeah, I guess I could do that. So, I mean, I could summon Coral Dragon immediately using this. Realistically, it doesn't make sense to send anything to the graveyard at the moment because, I mean, I could yard a Jet Synchron, but the Jet Synchron's already live as is. But then again, both of these tokens, yeah, I'll use these tokens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Jet Synchron from the deck to the graveyard. So let's see, I want to use one additional monster, which means I need to decrease by one. So now I can use the 4 with the 2 level 1s, go Coral Dragon. Unfortunately, I don't draw now, but I can go ahead and eliminate that. And now if I bring back Level Eater off of... There are a couple things I could do, actually. Let's go Road Warrior for free. And then, actually, I can go ahead and use this to summon a multitude of monsters. Right now, I actually feel like I'd rather go for the Jet Synchron. I have a ton of non-tuners at the moment. So now I can go Formula, which obviously with these is enough for a Quasar at the moment, but I actually want to see, do I need a Junk Synchron? I mean, if I add one to my hand, the Quick Draw would be even more live to some degree. But the question is, would I rather just revive the Junk or the Jet Synchron? Yeah, I'd rather use the Jet Synchron for its own revival effect. But yeah, I do want to draw that. Librarian will let me draw, so I draw 2. Alright, so BLS is going to be able to be summoned, so realistically, at this point, I want to just go ahead and... Let's see, if I were to level eat off of this, I would only be able to access 6, which right now I can't. So I'm just trying to see if there is a good way for me to go... I can't lower this guy significantly in order to make it into a Quasar play or anything. So that doesn't help. I only have one non-tuner slot to move with, so I honestly can't go without messing up a Quasar play. Summon any, draw any more cards off of the Librarian. So we're actually just going to go and use these guys. And I do think this is superior to the, I mean, this is game-winning damage right here, so it's definitely superior to the Librarian and the Road Warrior I gave up. Now the coolest thing, I think, is the fact that Quasar, I really couldn't care less about that card's level. So, I mean, cut it down a ton, it doesn't really matter. Let me just see what low-level guys I have. So I have Tatsunoko in here. So if I go double Level Eater, or honestly, I could even try going for one of the Quick Draw based monsters, which would let me yard another Level Eater. So now I can go 6. I could go 7. That's a pretty strong attacker. 5 isn't that bad in terms of attack because I can bring back Level Eater. And in order to do that, I'd have to use this. So we'll bring back this Level Eater. go Junk Warrior off of the 2 of these. Basically, if he has some traps that can nullify some of my monsters, I want to be able to stop as many of them as possible. Alright, so what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go Black Rose, not bomb the field, but I do get a free draw. And then that will allow me then to revive Jet Synchron for a free Crystal Wing, which should be good. I mean, let's activate this because why not? Realistically, because why not? Don't need any more level 2s, so Raiden is probably better. I mean, both of them are marginally useful at best right now. But I can bring back this. Get rid of the Junk Synchron. I won't need to normal this turn. Special Crystal Wing. And then special BLS. Oh, Book of Moon. I mean, honestly, yeah, you can flip my card down. I don't care. I could still special that. Let me see what else is available. Level Eater and nothing else. So since I don't play Xyz monsters, this is essentially it. Double Formula, I don't need that. Honestly, the weakest link out of all these is probably one of my 2 Junk Synchrons, because the Level Eaters are actually somewhat useful. So I'm going to go ahead and use Quasar to attack first in case I need to negate something. But yeah, the whole point of that is pretty much like in case he has more like random things like Book of Moon. But there's that. And let's go and play another game very briefly. Because the cool thing with Synchrons that makes this really fun to play and really fun to watch, I think, is the fact that every single time you play it, you have a different string of summons that let you get to pretty similar boards. So overall, in terms of consistency, very potent. But I mean, it's just such a thrill to play because of that. So let's see, I have a Level Leader in hand, which means Quick Draw is probably one of my better options. The cool thing is I can even go and, based on what I yard, I yarded a Level Eater, that's amazing. So I'm actually going to go and play this for the Junk Synchron as well, because I need a normal anyway. And I hit, wow, Jet Synchron, which is like pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and special Quick Draw. Get me my Level Eater. Let's see, for normal summon, I have a few different options I could go about here. Realistically, my favorite option is to go Hyper Librarian right now. So I'm actually going to mill 2 more and not use the Junk Synchron yet. And that's another phenomenal mill. So we're going to go Librarian, whom I can level Eat. And that will let me go for Junk Warrior. I draw a free card off of the Librarian. Honestly, it doesn't matter who goes first. Actually, the only thing that matters is technically I could have flipped it so that Librarian wouldn't be susceptible to something like Ghost Ogre as a higher chain link. But, I mean, unless you're really nitpicking with that type of thing, it really couldn't matter less. So we're going to go with this, which will let me special Doppel Warrior. And now the coolest thing is I can go ahead and revive Jet Synchron, probably use this. And let's see, do I want to go Formula? Is Formula the best play here? I'm just wondering because I do have that Doppel Warrior sitting there. I mean, to start, we can do that. Yes, I want to draw 3 cards. So I want to draw a total of 2 here, and then let's see. Ultimately, I mean, I could bring out this as a tuner to go with this. Junk Berserker at 7. That's not a bad play. But then I'd end up clogging my board, so I wouldn't get any of the Doppel tokens for the time being, which is a bit unfortunate. And I can't level Eat anymore. I could go for Quandux and go 4/4/4 Quasar, which would actually be pretty funny. I think I'm going to do that. I mean, how often do you see a bunch of level 4 monsters? Let's see. I can't bring out any other non-tuners besides Quick Draw, at which point, I mean, realistically, I can't do anything with the Librarian. I can't get another Synchro in, so yeah, I'm going to go and use Doppel. Because at that point, I just get 2 free monsters. So I'm going to go Quasar here. Oh, Allure is very, very powerful off of that Junk Synchron. Let's see. So we're going to sync the 3 of these. Quasar in defense because there's no reason to make yourself susceptible to Honor Arc for no reason. I mean, I just said no reason. We're going to go ahead and get rid of Junk Synchron because Chaos Sorcerer is still potentially live. And I'm going to decrease Quasar by 1 level so I can go for Road Warrior, which will allow me to continue my Synchro shenanigans here using the Quick Draw. And let's see, the card's defense, I forget what this card's defense is. I think it's 3k. 15, wow. If only it let me read it, you know? But no matter, it's not a big issue. So I need I need a tuner at the moment, so we're gonna go for Jet. If I use it though, the problem is I don't get the benefit of an additional card of the Junk Synchron. But it still won't get banished. I'd rather keep my Chaos Sorcerer if possible, because that's a really easy card to synchro with. So I want to draw this, and then this is basically what I would love to have Librarian for. Honestly, I want to see if I can hit the Soul Charge for the Librarian play. I didn't, but I can hit a level 1 tuner now. I could go Junk Gardner with this and then go Crystal Wing. That's pretty good. Yeah, imagine all the extra plays I could do if I had Librarian sitting here just because, you know, he can. This can go in attack position because he can negate monster effects anyway. Junk Gardener's effect, change a monster's battle position? Heck yes, I want to fix that mistake I made earlier, you know. This deck corrects for itself, which is very nice. I think the only thing I can do now is Level Eaters in defense, and I mean, realistically, when you have 3, unless you're facing like Metal Foes, Orichalc, like, does it even matter? I mean, really, they could summon 2 Orichalcs if they're playing it and try to kill me, and that's if I let them with this. But at the same time, I don't need the defenses with this, so I'm actually just going to end as is. So that's pretty good turn 1. I mean, Quasar, Crystal Wing. Unfortunately, I want this card to stay. And the reason I'm using Crystal Wing is, although yes, it's a very powerful effect, Quasar's ability to blanket stop anything makes it extra useful against like Raigeki and Dark Hole as well. So I want to make sure that that's live. Means right here we have to protect ourselves from a trap. Let's see. I was a bit worried that it froze permanently there. Alright, so we have this now. I don't have any Formula Synchrons left, so what I'm actually going to do is revive or special summon out. Could go Doppel, but Doppel's not live at the moment because the tokens won't spawn. So a better option is actually Quillbolt because it'll come back. We'll go Tatsunoko, which will let me go... I mean, that's an additional 1700 damage. But it also lets me go and revive Quillbolt for easy access to Excel, which will let me go and increase its level again. So now the question becomes, which do I want to use? I mean, looking through here, what would be my best options? I could bring out a Coral Dragon, but I wouldn't have anything to synchro with, or not synchro with, decrease, or discard rather, sorry, for that removal effect. So a bit tricky there. I can level eat the Road Warrior to 7. Have 1/7. I don't have a level 4 Synchron that I can send to the grave for Excel to make it a 1 for Trishula, unfortunately. Unfortunate thing here is I can go for an additional monster and build outward, but I can't go Trishula at the moment. So we're gonna go ahead and send, I mean, if I had an additional spot, the funny thing is sending Junk Synchron to the graveyard here would allow me to actually go bring out 2 Level Eaters and then push for Trish that way. Unfortunately, all I ended up doing is just clogging my board because I can't even do anything with those 2. So we're just going to win with the board that we already have. So Quasar's still a very, very good boss monster in this strategy. And I know, like, AIs aren't the best in terms of responding to you, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. but I still think it's interesting to see what this deck can do. Wow, each time I'm allowed to go first. But honestly, I just want to see what the deck can do. And then based on matchups, you know, that's where you decide, oh, can your opponent hinder you enough where you want to go ahead and play some more removal pieces. So let's see here. It's very difficult to say what I would want to hit. I can hit Level Eater to the grave, so Quick Draw is not a bad option at all. But I could also Foolish Varial the Doppel Warrior and get Junk Synchron rolling. That actually sounds really appealing to me. So we're going to go do that. Foolish Burial for wherever he is. There we go. And then this will let us go Librarian. And the cool thing now is that I'm able to utilize tuning to go and get a Quick Draw Synchron who will be able to dump the Jet Synchron to the graveyard. And that's really neat because now I can bring back... Oh, I lost Mathematician. Boo. But I can go ahead and continue building upward. So let's see. I'd rather draw a free card first. So we're actually going to go use one of these. Summon Junk Gardna, draw one. And that gives me free ammo. Realistically, in this sense, it's a gamble, but I want to get rid of Max C because the Doppel Warrior is a bit more useful to me at the moment. So let's see, we're going to go Special Formula Synchron with 1 and 1. Draw 2 here. I mean, I can already go Crystal Wing, but let's see how much we can abuse this. Holy cow, we just got even more power here. Because we got a Level Leader loaded, we got this, so let's see here. If I were to go and utilize this guy, I lose out on resources. So I actually want to go ahead and summon this Crystal Wing early because I know I'm going to go for it. Draw a free card. Junk Gardener's effect, I mean, honestly, it's just switching a battle position, so I couldn't care less. Level Leader's live now. I could go for another formula, and then I could go for like Quandux, and then I could continue synchroing up. So cool thing is Librarian's up right now, which means the Level Eater play is actually a phenomenal piece of tech. So all these extra deck monsters I have are going to be very, very powerful. And then we'll use Doppel Warrior at the end here. So this lets me go draw 2. And a Quick Draw is great because now I can just use that for more things. But we can get rid of this level. I mean, I'm almost at the point where I could go Quasar off of just this, but I want to see this in action because this is part of the reason why I wanted to play this deck. It's not the driving force that was like, oh my gosh, I have to play this because of that. But I mean, I have noticed all these tuner synchro monsters appear over the years, and I was hoping that we'd reach a point like this where, you know, we can go ahead and just continue synchroing up. I mean, it's literally just turning extra deck cards into free draws. Like, who doesn't like that idea? So we can just keep eating the Crystal Wing. Unfortunately, he's eaten all the way done. But I could go for more things. So let's see. So let's see here. What would be the best option? So if I were to bring back a level 1, like I don't have a generic synchro that's pretty good. That's the problem. Like I almost wish I could go Road Warrior at the moment. Let's see. If I can make a Quasar play using the Librarian, that'd be pretty good. So how would I do that? Well, I'd have to... Let me just check which tuners are live. So Glow Bulb is still live. That's good information. So if I were to cut down one of these, I can't go Tatsunoko anymore, unfortunately, because I already used that up. But Bulb isn't actually useful. But what level of synchro could I make? Librarian could become Coral Dragon. This guy could become Black Rose, but then that doesn't help me unless I can summon, like, I don't even have another formula. So actually it might be pretty difficult to summon Quasar. First, let's get rid of one level on this guy. I really don't like how I can't use this like a quick draw for any other synchro. or Synchron. That hurts it quite a bit. Let's see. I mean, I could go Trish off of using the Crystal Wing. That's not worth it. You know, it might actually have been best to just go Coral Dragon, not using that level leader. That might have been a dead-end play here. I could go Black Rose, load up 2 tokens for no reason. I mean, that's a possibility. Or I could even just use this. I definitely want to load one of these. So the question is, do I want to increase or decrease? Well, that would let me access Trishula and get 2 tokens. But a Trishula that only gets rid of 1 card from the opponent's hand is pretty lame. I mean, this would have been a better hand going second, assuming no defenses. So here I am just talking to myself. The way you're supposed to play this deck is essentially at every step you evaluate whether or not the next play will make your board better. That's the easiest algorithm you can do without just knowing all the combos in and out, because this deck just has way too many combos to actually raw memorize. Like, it's impossible. But having some combos is better than my complete newness to this. Let's see. So I can increase or decrease by 1. So it could either become 3 or it could become 5. Actually, 3 might be best because that would let me go Coral Dragon and then still have the 2 materials. So that kind of cancels out the issue I had using the Level Eater. So now I get a Coral Dragon for free. That lets me draw a card. I can get 2 materials that I can use off of this. So why not? I mean, this is a... Oh, that Soul Charge is very good. Very, very good. So I can't go Quasar, unfortunately. This is a cheeky play right here. So we're actually going to go Black Rose, and we're going to bomb everything. And the reason for that is I'm just going to Soul Charge everything back, and it's going to be a better board than what I have here. So let's see. I want to make sure that... Oh, Librarian's automatically Chain Link 1, so it'll be wiped off by Black Rose no matter what. So these 2 order don't matter. Alright, so new board here, drew the Soul Charge. What do I do? So just based on the Librarian and the formula, and I actually didn't bring out Junk Warrior yet, so let's actually do that. Don't need this. I can actually bring out Quasar right here with Level Eater. But I'll want to bring back Librarian first. So looking at this, I can go Librarian Formula and then Crystal Wing, which, I mean, is okay. It's Quasar and Coral, or Quasar and... Yeah, we'll do that, because I want Librarian out for another free draw. Actually, I made a slight miscalculation here. So what I could have done is, instead of bringing out a Formula Synchron, I could have left that slot blank, brought something else here. And then if I sync these 2 for a junk I would draw, then I could bring back Glow Up Bulb and then Level Eater and make a new formula. Wait, do I have a new formula? No, I do not. Okay, so I could not do that. So yeah, potential play is gone right there. Kind of sad, but it is what it is. Let's see, I want to make Librarian Chain Link 1 so that I protect. So this is essentially like, now if my opponent Ghost Ogres me, my Librarian's safe. Veiler will still hit me because, you know, Veiler can choose whenever the heck she wants. But, I mean, there's at least this. So, now do I go Quasar right here? Because I can't just go and Synchro with no materials left. Like, no spots. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go Quasar here, so no more draws. But, I mean, like, with this many draws out, I don't think draws is really an issue. We're going to bring out a second copy of Level Eater. The cool thing is I could go for extra copies of Crystal Wing if I wanted here. So now I can go Berserker just for like more attack power, and then I could transform it into another Crystal Wing. I mean, realistically, I could Trish them for 1 card out of their hand. Should I do that? I mean, realistically, against a real opponent, if I'm trying to win, I wouldn't want to do that because that would just, you know, eat up potential plays for later. But I mean, like, I just couldn't care less here. Oh, I can't even Trish right now, which is pretty embarrassing. But yeah, that's a pretty good board, right? Next turn, he'd actually cause more trouble for me if he didn't do anything. Oh, he's about to end his main phase. No, you're not allowed to go and hit me for piercing damage. I'm not taking anything from you. So those 3 back row actually could be problematic. I mean, Ring of Destruction's there. He might have an Icarus attack, but I'd rather have him pay his effect. Fiendish Chain of all things. Wow, we're taking 4k. Almost killed me. Good thing I Veilered, right? That was the whole point. Let's see here. So Trish and Road Warrior are the only pieces left. I can go this for Raiden. Oh, I milled it. Wow. Goodbye, Raiden. I can bring this down a bit, and then I can normal summon something. We'll try that. So this is still a very awkward level sum. If I were to introduce this, I would have a 1, a 1, a 4, and a 5. So I can't really get to 9 with that. But I can normal this and then sync for Trish. Oh, I didn't expect that. All right, my goal now is just to have fun, see what this deck can do. I want to see if I can bring out that Road Warrior, which, I mean, realistically, because I don't have any quick draws left, I might not be able to. 1 quick draw Synchron, 2 quick draw Synchron. I'm not sure why they're yellow. 3 quick draw Synchron. Yeah, I'm done, guys. I don't have anything left to do, so we're just gonna drop VLS. By Raikou, by... I mean, I'll never need the second junk Synchron, right? And then I can't even summon that. So yeah, we're just gonna like... Oh, I still need more attack power. Oh wait, no, I don't need attack power because he killed himself by paying and then taking damage. But we're gonna go ahead and do this. So eat BLS, summon this. Eat BLS, summon this. Yeah, 1 card left in our extra deck, guys. And I think that's plenty of messing around with Synchrons for now. So we're going to go ahead and just revisit the deck and see if there's anything that I would change. I mean, realistically speaking, this, of course, was just testing for fun, mainly against not even real people. So again, take that with a grain of salt. But I think the overall core is very consistent as is. I feel like I'm actually breaking with this build a lot less than another one that I tried in real life. Part of it might just be like shuffling in real life. If I'm not doing enough of that, it might clump and things aren't coming out right. But, I mean, so far, nothing looks that bad. Those 3 duels back to back, comboed off like crazy. Of course, I did get to go first in all instances, and I admit this deck really does fall apart if you go second and your opponent interferes with you. That's part of the reason why you need to have things like Twin Twisters in here, but I mean, we're trying to balance a bit by using Double Charge and the Lila in here to help get rid of that, and then you do have a lot of outs like Coral Dragon and Black Rose in your extra. But I mean, let me know what you guys think about Synchrons, especially if you guys have some, you know, personal experience using this deck. This is your thing. Definitely feel free to share your wisdom down below. And then also, don't forget about this section here. Let me know what you guys think about the direction I should take this deck or a variant of this deck, because I really do want to explore something with Zolkin using Salvage Warrior, and I think Theseus has made it so that Salvage Warrior is about to have its time. Should that be something totally different that abandons like the junk Doppel portion? Is it even feasible to play, you know, non-synchro monsters in a quick draw deck? Like, let me know what your thoughts are down below, and then based on your responses, we can go ahead and either continue evolving this deck, or we might work on something else as well. That's the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please like it so we can share it with as many other people who may enjoy it as well. If you want to see more of this series, you can click the annotation you see on the right, or if you just want to see the last video I did, click the annotation on the left. And if you really liked what you saw today, then I invite you to check out the channel icon in the middle to subscribe to JD Gaming for more weekly videos. Thanks guys, this is JD Gaming, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.